I swear I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I'm not that kind of husband. Well, maybe I am now, but that night it happened by accident. Our apartment building had a power outage. Total blackout. No lights, no elevators, no Wi-Fi. Just me, a half-warm cup of chamomile tea, and the sound of my wife humming somewhere down the hallway. I thought she was looking for candles. I thought she was annoyed, same as me. But when I stepped toward the bedroom, following the light of her phone screen, I heard her say this, laughing softly, like she was sharing a secret. Honestly, I regret marrying him. But it's whatever. He'll never do better. At first, I thought she was talking to herself. People mumble things in the dark, right? But then I realized she was whispering into her phone. Video call. The glow of someone else's face lit up her cheek. A man's voice, low, confident, too familiar with my wife's giggles, answered. Talia, you knew he'd drag you down. He's comfortable, not exciting. I didn't mean to gasp. I didn't. But I did this pathetic little inhale-snort thing, like a dying vacuum cleaner, and the floor creaked under my foot. She spun around. Her smile froze mid-sentence. And you'd think I'd yell, or walk in, or do something dramatic, but no. I backed up like a scared raccoon and bumped into the laundry hamper. Socks everywhere. My pride included. Talia, I said, voice cracking like puberty part 2. Who are you talking to? She didn't answer me. Not with words, at least. She just raised an eyebrow, the same eyebrow she lifts when she pretends I'm being dramatic again, and ended the call without looking away from me. Then she smirked and whispered, almost proudly, relax. It was just a joke. And maybe I would have believed her. Maybe I would have swallowed my feelings like I always do. But something inside me snapped. Maybe because the apartment was pitch black. Maybe because I could hear my own heartbeat louder than my thoughts. Maybe because I finally realized I wasn't crazy for feeling her slipping away. So I said it. Soft. Honest. Pathetic. True. I regret marrying you too. Her smirk didn't just fade. It collapsed. Electricity flickered back on at that exact moment, lighting up her stunned face. And I swear to you, it felt like the universe itself wanted to see her reaction. That was the moment everything changed. That was the moment I stopped being overly sensitive Mason who takes jokes too personally and started being the husband who finally noticed the shadows she'd been hiding behind. And trust me, what I discovered next wasn't shadows. It was a whole storm. The moment the lights came back on, her face said everything her words didn't. Not fear, not guilt, irritation. Like I had interrupted something important. Like I was the inconvenience, not the guy she was sneak-calling behind my back during a blackout. She didn't even flinch when I stood there staring. You done being dramatic? She said, brushing past me like nothing had happened. She didn't explain, didn't apologize, didn't even ask what I'd heard. She just opened the fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, and sat on the couch scrolling through her phone again. I should have yelled, should have demanded answers. But instead, I went to the bathroom, locked the door, sat on the closed toilet lid, and stared at the cracked tile floor like it held all the secrets of the universe. My hands were shaking, not from rage, from dread. You know that moment when you're almost certain your life is about to break apart, and you're just waiting for the final proof? That was me. After maybe 20 minutes, I went back into the bedroom. She was asleep already, or pretending to be. Phone under her pillow. That's when I did it. Something I hadn't done once in our 3 years of marriage. I waited until her breathing settled, reached under the pillow like a thief in my own bed, and pulled the phone out. It wasn't locked. That surprised me. Or maybe she thought I'd never look. Typical Mason. Soft, naive, too respectful to snoop. I went straight to the call log. No name stood out. In fact, most numbers were saved with boring labels like dentist, work, Julie, or cousin Mike. But one number caught my eye. No name, just a string of digits and a small ghost emoji in the message history. That same number had been contacted almost daily, sometimes more than once. Morning, midnight, always short calls. I tapped the thread, scrolling slowly. My breath caught on a message from 2 days ago. Ghost, he's still clueless. You could cheat in front of him, and he'd probably say sorry for distracting you. And she had replied, Talia, don't tempt me. Face with tears of joy. He does get this kicked puppy look that's kind of cute. I felt my stomach turn. I wanted to throw the phone. Or myself. Or both. But I kept scrolling. Not because I was curious. Because I needed to know how deep the knife went. Another message. Ghost. You ever tell him what happened in Portland? Or should I? Talia, shoo. He thinks it was a yoga retreat. Let's not ruin the fantasy. Portland. Last March. She told me she was taking time for her mental reset. I even packed her suitcase, like the world's most supportive doormat. I sent her money while she was there. Wrote her notes. I even made a dumb little playlist for her flight. She called me every night, pretending she was tired from hiking. Meanwhile, she was doing yoga with him. I put the phone down on the nightstand. My heart wasn't even racing, it was heavy, like it had just given up. She stirred and opened one eye. You going to bed, or? I didn't answer. I just sat on the edge of the mattress and stared at the wall, not in anger, in total disbelief at how long I'd been played. She turned away and muttered, I was kidding, earlier, about the regret thing. But I wasn't. I meant every word. And tomorrow, she was going to find out exactly how serious I was. Because I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to do something she never expected from Soft Mason. I was going to disappear, piece by piece, starting with the money. And then, I'd make sure her ghost got a little message of his own. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there in the dark, eyes wide open, listening to her breathe like nothing had happened. Like I wasn't sitting inches away from a woman who had turned me into a running joke in someone else's private chat. The next morning, she got up like she always did, threw on her robe, yawned dramatically, and muttered something about needing coffee. She kissed my cheek out of habit. Habit. That word hit me harder than the betrayal. While she was in the kitchen, I stayed in bed, pretending to still be half asleep. But my mind was racing. The truth was a living thing now. It wouldn't let me go. Her phone, her conversations, those little moments I thought were just mood swings or burnout. They weren't. They were signs. And I had ignored every single one of them. I got out of bed after she left for work, which I now realized might just mean him, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. I wasn't looking for a divorce lawyer or booking a hotel. No, I wanted something cleaner, smarter, more me. If she saw me unraveling, it'd just feed her ego. No, I was going to unravel in silence, behind a smile. Let her laugh with her ghost emoji guy. I'd let her think I was still clueless, still clinging to the hope she'd come back to who she used to be. Meanwhile, I'd start pulling the foundation out from under her feet. First stop, our shared bank account. Yeah, we'd gone fully joint after marriage. Her idea. No secrets, she said. What a joke. I moved half of what we had into a separate savings account under my name. I didn't drain it completely. I wasn't looking to be obvious. Just enough to make her panic later. Enough to give her the same tight feeling in her chest I'd felt when I read those messages. Then I checked her email. She used my laptop all the time, and she'd left it logged in once. I never looked before because I trusted her. Idiot. But now I searched keywords like Portland, hotel, yoga retreat, and the name Nico. That was the contact name her ghost guy eventually used in one of their chats. What I found confirmed everything. 3 nights at the Mirage Hills Spa and Suites, booked under Talia Green and guest. 2 tickets to a couples-only hot spring event. A photo in the cloud storage folder she forgot to delete, blurry, but unmistakable. Her in a swimsuit. Him behind her, arms around her waist. His face was turned away. Hers wasn't. I downloaded it. Not to confront her yet, but to keep. To remind myself I wasn't crazy. That this wasn't in my head. When she came home that evening, she brought Thai food. Smiled like nothing had happened. I played along, made awkward jokes, nodded when she complained about traffic. I didn't say a word about Nico. Not yet. Because I had a better idea. Something that would hit deeper than shouting matches or ultimatums. I was thinking, I said between bites of green curry, we should do something together. Like a weekend away. You know, reset. She raised an eyebrow. You hate traveling. I smiled. Well, maybe I regret not doing more of it. She paused, chopsticks in midair, then smirked, but it didn't reach her eyes. Okay, sure. Let's go somewhere. I nodded and got up to grab water. But inside, I was already planning the whole thing. The trip, the reveal, the moment she realized I'd known everything and said nothing until the perfect time. If she wanted drama, I was going to give her a masterpiece. You'll want to hear what happened on that weekend getaway. It changed everything. By the end of that week, everything was in place. Talia thought we were going away to reconnect, to patch up whatever vague distance she pretended not to notice between us. I had let her believe I was trying to save the marriage. Truthfully, I was already watching it burn, I just wanted her to be the last to smell the smoke. She suggested somewhere relaxing, a cabin near the lake, maybe. Something quiet, private, romantic, she said while filing her nails like nothing was rotting underneath us. I nodded like a good husband and told her I'd take care of it. And I did, just not the way she expected. I booked a weekend stay at the Bramble Inn, a boutique hotel about an hour outside the city. Cozy rooms, scenic trails, and, most importantly, an attached event hall. Because Saturday night just so happened to be Anniversary Stories, a monthly tradition where couples, families, and sometimes individuals shared anecdotes, funny, sad, powerful, about their relationships. It was open mic public, polite, just the kind of setting where I could let the truth fall out with a smile and a steady voice. In front of a dozen strangers and 2 of her coworkers she didn't know I knew would be there. She packed excitedly that Friday, humming to herself, probably texting Nico under some new fake name by now. I didn't check anymore. I didn't need to. I knew enough. It was no longer about gathering evidence. It was about showing her I was no longer a clueless background character in my own life. When we arrived at the Bramble Inn, she was impressed. She even kissed me on the cheek and said, "You actually planned something." I'm shocked. I forced a laugh. If only she knew. The room was nice. Fireplace. 2 wine glasses waiting. Her mood softened like it used to when we traveled before everything got fake and sarcastic. She tried to initiate something that night, but I said I was tired. Truth was, I didn't want the memory. I didn't want her anywhere near me, and the thought of pretending one more time made my skin crawl. The next day, we hiked. We laughed a little. For a few hours, she looked like the girl I married. But I knew now that was just a mask. One she wore for convenience. One that always came off the moment I wasn't useful to her anymore. At 7:45 p.m., I told her we had a surprise event booked at the hotel. Just something fun, I said. She asked what it was, but I told her to trust me. She wore a black sweater and soft curls in her hair, and I almost forgot who she really was. Almost. We walked into the event room, and she instantly clocked the microphone, the chairs arranged in semicircles, the small, smiling crowd sipping tea and wine. "Wait," she said slowly. "What is this?" "It's called Anniversary Stories," I replied. "Thought it'd be something meaningful. You know, share where we've been." She forced a tight smile. "Cute. Very. On brand for you." When the host asked if anyone would like to go first, I raised my hand. Talia blinked, confused. "You're actually going up there?" "Yup," I said, standing. "I've got a great story." I walked up, took the mic, and looked at a room full of strangers, except for 2 people in the back. Andrea and Jonah from her office. She hadn't seen them yet. I had invited them anonymously, just like she had invited another man into our marriage without asking me. And then, smiling gently, I began with, "Hi, I'm Mason. This is my wife Talia. She's beautiful, right? Smart. Charming. And until recently, I thought she was the best decision I ever made. But turns out, I was just the quiet background character in a movie she was starring in alone." The room went still. Talia's eyes widened. And I didn't stop. Not until the end. And when I was done, she didn't say a word. But someone else did. Andrea stood up and said, "Talia, is this true?" That's when it all truly started to collapse. But it was only the beginning. When I stepped down from the mic, there was no polite clapping. Just stunned silence. A few half-sipped wine glasses frozen in the air, and Talia sitting motionless in her chair, her mouth slightly open like she wanted to say something, but couldn't find words that wouldn't make it worse. I didn't look back at her as I walked past, just returned to my seat and took a sip of my water, calm on the outside, but my pulse hammering like a war drum in my ears. Andrea and Jonah were both standing now, staring at her, eyes darting between each other, waiting for a denial, an explanation, a laugh that would tell them this was all a bit. But she didn't give them one. She just looked straight at me. Not angry, not sad, just cornered. "Was that necessary?" she finally whispered, low enough that only I could hear her. I turned to her slowly, eyes dry, my voice steady. "Was he necessary?" She flinched. First real reaction all night. Andrea walked out first. No words, no drama. Just her picking up her clutch and shaking her head in quiet disgust. Jonah hesitated a moment longer, then gave Talia a quick look, one part disappointment, one part curiosity, like he was suddenly seeing her in a different light. That's when Talia stood up and hissed, "You ambushed me." You actually planned this. I nodded. For once, I planned something. You're sick, she said under her breath. I laughed just once. No, I just got tired of being the punchline in your private comedy. She left the room before anyone else could say a word. She didn't storm out. That would have given her power. No, she walked like a robot. Stiff, controlled, but I could tell her mind was spinning. That mask she wore so easily, it cracked. I stayed for the rest of the event. Listened to a guy talk about how he and his wife almost split over a lost dog, then found each other again through therapy. Good for them. I wasn't jealous. I was just done. Back in the room, she was packing. What are you doing? I asked casually, leaning on the doorway like I didn't already know. I'm not staying here tonight. You've humiliated me. No, I said. You did that to yourself. I just made sure there was finally an audience. You don't get to play the victim. You went behind my back. I tilted my head. I didn't lie about a yoga retreat, or send late-night heart emojis to some guy while my husband cooked dinner. But sure, let's call me the villain. She zipped her bag and yanked it off the bed. You think you've won? What? Because you embarrassed me in front of 2 coworkers. I stepped aside to let her pass. No, I think I finally stopped losing. She paused at the door, looked back at me like she wanted one last jab, one final insult. But nothing came. She just left. No slamming, no crying, no dramatic begging for forgiveness. Just quiet footsteps fading down the hallway of a hotel we were supposed to be healing in. I sat down on the bed and stared at the fireplace. It was fake, just an electric simulation of flames. And it hit me, so was everything we had become. But I wasn't done yet. Because the man she'd been messaging? Nico. He was about to get a little message of his own. And trust me, I knew exactly where to hit him. After she left the hotel, I didn't follow. I didn't call. I didn't even check her location, though I knew she still hadn't disabled our shared tracking. She probably forgot it was even on. That was the thing about Talia. She was so sure she was always 10 steps ahead. She never noticed when I stopped following. I stayed in the room for hours, just letting the silence breathe. I wasn't angry anymore. That was the strange part. I thought I'd be filled with rage, wanting to scream into pillows or smash something dramatic. But all I felt was this hollow calm. Like the war had already happened, and all that was left was the cleanup. I poured myself a glass of wine from the minibar and opened my laptop. I had everything I needed. Her phone records, hotel receipts, screenshots of their messages, the Portland photos, and, most importantly, Nico's full name. She had called him Nico in a message once, but I dug deeper and found his Instagram months ago, back when I still thought it was just paranoia. His full name? Nico Halden. Freelance digital marketer. Gym rat. Apparently thinks every mirror selfie needs a motivational quote. I hated him on sight. But it wasn't jealousy. It was insult. She had risked everything for this guy? Some bootleg motivational speaker who still posted rise and grind at age 34? I created a burner account and started going through his digital footprint. LinkedIn, public client reviews, a few sketchy Reddit comments under a throwaway username he reused more than he realized. I wasn't looking to destroy him, yet. I just wanted to know what would make him squirm. And then I found it. His most recent project? A consulting gig with a mid-sized wellness brand that catered to high-end clients. A contract he bragged about constantly on his socials. The company was squeaky clean, image-obsessed, and just one scandal away from dropping anyone who made them look messy. So I reached out. I wrote a polite, anonymous message to the company's media team. I didn't accuse anyone directly. I just flagged a concern involving one of their contractors allegedly engaging in an inappropriate relationship with a married woman during a company-funded retreat. Attached, one photo, the Portland Hot Springs one. No names, no accusations, just enough to raise eyebrows. Then I closed the laptop, finished the wine, and went to sleep. First real sleep in months. By the time I got back home, she still hadn't returned. Half her stuff was gone. No note. Just the faint scent of her perfume on the couch and a wine glass in the sink. I stood in the living room, looking at the space where her coat used to hang, and realized I didn't miss her. Later that week, I got a reply from the wellness company. They were looking into the matter and thanked me for bringing it to their attention. 2 days later, Nico posted something cryptic about people trying to tear down others out of jealousy. That post had no comments, and by morning, his consulting gig had mysteriously vanished from his bio. I didn't message him. I didn't threaten. I didn't gloat. I didn't have to. And the best part? Talia still didn't know I was behind it. Yet, because while she was busy rewriting the story of our marriage in her head, telling herself I was weak, soft, boring, I was rewriting the ending. 2 weeks. That's how long it took before she finally reached out. Not to apologize, of course. Not to ask if I was okay or even admit anything. No. She texted me at 2:13 a.m. with 5 simple words. Can we talk in person? I stared at the message for a long time. I already knew what it meant. Nico was gone, or at least, no longer as convenient. Her little side story had collapsed under its own weight, and now she was circling back, trying to make sure I hadn't drifted too far. Talia never let go of anything unless she had a backup in place. I didn't reply right away. I made her wait until the next evening. Then I sent her one word. Sure. We met at this overpriced rooftop bar she used to love, probably because the lighting made her look like an Instagram filter in real life. She dressed up for it too. Hair curled. Lipstick perfect. She even wore the dress I once told her she looked amazing in. It would have worked on the old me, the Mason she remembered, but I wasn't sitting across from her as that man anymore. She smiled like nothing had ever happened. You look good, she said, sipping her wine. Less tired. I nodded. Sleep does that when you're not being lied to. Her expression twitched for half a second. So, I've had time to think. A lot of time. I leaned back and let her talk. She rambled about how relationships go through phases, how we both made mistakes, how she might have acted out because she felt emotionally neglected. It was a speech she'd practiced, full of vague responsibility, but no actual ownership. Not once did she say Nico's name. Not once did she ask why I'd exposed her at the hotel. She wanted to move forward, not look back. When she finished, I gave her a slow nod. Sounds like you've been busy rewriting the script. What's that supposed to mean? She asked, her smile fading. It means you keep pretending this is a misunderstanding. A rough patch. But it wasn't. You weren't unhappy. You were just greedy. Her face hardened. That's not fair. No, what's not fair is being turned into a joke in your group chats. What's not fair is funding your yoga trip while you played house with another guy. What's not fair is that I believed you when you said you loved me while you were already halfway out the door. She looked around like she wanted to disappear. So that's it. You just want to punish me? I smiled calmly. No, I already did. She blinked. What? I never replied to Nico, but I did send a photo to his client. You know, the Hot Springs one. He lost that contract. She stared at me, stunned, mouth slightly open, silent for once. I leaned forward, voice quiet. I'm not violent. I'm not cruel, but I don't forget. She set her glass down with a shaky hand. Mason, this isn't you. That's where you're wrong, I said. This is the version of me that finally started paying attention. She stood up fast. I should have known you'd do something petty. You called it petty, I said, still seated. I call it closure. She walked out without another word, and I didn't follow her. Not this time. I stayed at the bar, ordered another drink, and felt something I hadn't in a long, long time. Weightless. But the story wasn't over yet. Because a week later, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address. Just a photo inside. Of me. From behind. Taken recently. She wasn't done. The photo in the envelope wasn't threatening. Not exactly. Just eerie. It was of me sitting alone on a park bench, feeding pigeons like someone twice my age. I recognized the hoodie I was wearing, the exact slouch of my shoulders. It had been taken from behind, framed like a candid moment, but with enough intention that it felt personal. No note. No return address. Just the image. At first, I thought it was Nico. Maybe trying to rattle me back for what I'd done to his golden client deal. But something about it felt different. Sloppier. More emotional. Then it clicked. Talia. She wasn't trying to scare me. She was trying to remind me that she was still there. Watching. Still a part of my life even after the words, the silence, the exposure. She couldn't let go. Not completely. Maybe because she couldn't stand the idea that I had. For a day or two, I kept waiting for a follow-up. A message. Another late-night text. Some tearful call begging for closure, or worse, a second chance. But it never came. She vanished again. Only this time, it didn't feel like a manipulation. It felt final. And honestly, that was the gift. I threw the photo away without ceremony. Didn't scan it. Didn't analyze the angle. Just tossed it in the trash, right between a pizza coupon and a utility bill. I even smiled a little when I did it. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't obsessing over what she was doing, who she was talking to, or what double meaning sat behind every text. I wasn't overthinking every silence, or checking her location, or sleeping next to someone who made me feel like I was slowly fading out of my own life. I was free. I closed the joint account, took a job in a smaller city I'd always liked but never dared move to. I started running again, even joined a local trivia league where no one knew me as the guy whose wife cheated. I told my story once, just briefly, at a bar after too many beers. The bartender said, "Damn, man. But at least you didn't stay." And that was it. That was the whole point. I didn't stay, because she joked about regretting marrying me. And for a while, I believed I wasn't enough. But I was. I just wasn't hers to ruin anymore. These days, I sleep well. I laugh louder. And when someone new recently asked me why I seemed so relaxed all the time, I smiled and said, because I finally learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. So yeah, she smiled when she said she regretted marrying me. But I was the one who smiled in the end.